Donors turned diplomats, President Obama taking lots of heat for making his political friends our ambassadors.
We believe all of our nominees are incredibly qualified.
Have you been to Argentina?
Senator, I haven't had the opportunity yet.
Is there a rule that ambassadors can't have set foot in the country they're going to ambassador? Would it ruin the surprise?
These are very important countries, and we're sending people that, one, have never been there, but second of all, are clueless.
Norway has been very quick to denounce them.
The government has denounced them. They're part of the coalition of the government.
I stand corrected.
I have no more questions for this incredibly highly qualified group of nominees. That question and answer has gone viral in Norway.
We believe all of our nominees are incredibly qualified.
James Bruno is a retired Foreign Service officer. He joins us. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
All right, let me ask you about this business about the donors being made ambassadors, which has been going on for decades with presidents. Is it any different with President Obama in terms of comparison to President Bush 43, President Clinton, or President Bush 41? Is it any different?
You're right. It's been going on a long time. I'd say what's different in President Obama's second term is that we're seeing many more political appointees named for ambassadorships. And so the number's going up and the quality's going down.
Now, does that mean to talk about the resume imbalance issue, too, where we send maybe a donor or a big shot in hotels, or there's a producer for a soap opera who's been named for an ambassadorship. Do the countries that we send them to, do they send the same type of ambassadors back, or are they sending career ambassadors back?
The United States, Greta, is the only country in the industrialized world that treats ambassadorships as political spoils. I'm aware of no other country that does this on a large scale, not as much as we do. And so it makes us look bad vis-a-vis the rest of the world.
Does it do any damage to our standing with certain countries? I realize that sometimes we'll send someone who's got might be caught. There's one story about an ambassador getting drunk and falling in the snow and getting rescued by somebody else. That's pretty embarrassing. But has there been damage to our nation's credibility as a result of some of these appointments?
Certainly there's been plenty of embarrassment to the United States. We're the only superpower. We should be treating the people with the same respect, other governments with the same respect that they treat us. Ambassadors are members of the President's and the U.S. government's national security team. They're very important players in defending U.S. interests and promoting our interests abroad, in being able to navigate nimbly with other governments and societies. If you send people out there who are amateurs, they're bound to trip up. So especially in today, where we are fighting terrorism on many fronts, and where we have some very serious issues, including with Hungary, with Argentina, and Norway, countries to which some of these ambassadors these nominees are to be made ambassadors. We can't trip up. We can't afford to fall down. We have to have expert players out there to pursue U.S. interests.
Well, frankly, I know it's been going on for decades, but I find it pretty bizarre that we send people to these countries that don't even understand the government, haven't even, Googled them to find out what kind of governments these host countries have. But one last quick question. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee, are they a little bit complicit since they're the ones who, they pass on them too?
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee, in my view, has fallen down on the job. They need to, their job is to vet these people, to make sure that they have at least a modicum of qualifications to go out to these countries. And I see them rubber stamping people through. And this goes for both parties, and all administrations have had some guilt in this process. But it's especially egregious right now.
James,
some of these people have no more qualification. Thank you.
No. Go ahead, I'll let you finish sentence. Have no more qualification than?
They have no more qualifications to be an ambassador or a diplomat than I do to produce TV soap operas or to run a hotel empire. They come to these positions thinking that perhaps they think that all they need to do is go to cocktail parties. That is a total misunderstanding of what an ambassador does. An ambassador, a U.S. ambassador, if he or she is taking his or her job seriously, is on call 24/7, and they have to be as nimble in Washington as they are in the capitals in which they serve. It's hard work, and it's not to be underestimated, and they are not paid enough.
James, thank you, sir. So, is the diplomatic nominating process, including President Obama's latest nominations, embarrassing the nation, and does it need to drastically change? Joining us, our political panel, ABC News political director Rick Klein, The Hill's A.B. Stoddard, and the Washington Examiner Susan Ferriccio. Rick, first to you. I mean, this last round is, soap opera producer, these questions, it's pretty absurd, some of these.
Yeah, it's becoming a story, and it's becoming a story in a lot of the countries where these people are being nominated to serve in, and that's where it becomes a bigger problem. I agree that it's on the Senate at some level to turn back some nominees and say, wait a second, let's make sure someone's qualified before we put them forward at a committee and onto the floor of the Senate. There is a consent part of the advice and consent clause in the Constitution. And I think for the president, look, this should be embarrassing to him to have these people slipping up in this way. He came in explicitly saying that, yeah, there'll be some political donors, but he thought the vast majority of his ambassadors would be career foreign service, people with special expertise in the region. And this is different than just rewarding political friends. These people are just patently unaware of what's going on in the countries that they're supposed to go represent the United States in.
A.B., looking at the numbers for the second term, 53% of the second term of President Obama have been political appointed, given to donors, essentially. That's in comparison to Bush and Clinton, when the average was about 28 to 30% range. So this is a profoundly different number. And there's also sort of a range in terms of, I don't remember some of these stories where they had never visited the country or knew very little about it.
I think that's really the key, because you could have 80% of them being political appointees, but if they were well prepared, interested in the job, thoroughly engaged and participating before they got to the confirmation hearings, they could be very impressive representatives of the United States of America. We're looking at the Bush administration, Republican President George W. Bush, our reputation around the world, worse not better after he left. President Obama, Democratic president, our reputation around the world right now, worse not better. We need to really send the most impressive people that we can, and if they are not, experts on that country, they can be before they leave.
Susan?
Well, part of this really does fall on Congress, and part of the reason Congress doesn't do enough to stop nominees who don't look prepared enough is because they come from their own club. Max Baucus is the Democratic chairman of the Finance Committee in the Senate.
But he's actually, he's a grown-up. He knows where China is.
But he did tell the panel when they were interviewing him that he didn't know a heck of a lot about China.
Well, that was a really dumb answer, but he's not falling down drunk and embarrassing the nation. He knows what type of the government that China has.
Does he? He says, I don't know a lot about China. They clear him, very easily in the Senate. So that's part of the problem. They're very reluctant to put the brakes on these nominees because it's been going on so long that this is the way it's been, and you just say, oh, it's just an ambassadorship, and when really it's embarrassing to the United States.
I think it's especially like when these countries send their professional career people here, and then we send someone over there who doesn't even who doesn't know anything remotely about the country, couldn't pick it out on a globe, couldn't pick out the country.
So Norway, maybe you don't get too worried about. China, that does concern me.
Argentina is important.
It is very important. If someone who's never been there, that's really abominable, frankly.
A panel now to the latest Obamacare controversy. Yesterday.